Welcome back, everyone, to the Katherine commentary. And wait, are we actually starting the nightmare stage at the beginning of the part? I think the
I hope
ominous music.
so.
Yes, Dark Hour Go. um,
We spent half
oh,
of the video sitting on our ass looking at text messages.
okay. The second stage is the first real stage. The actual nightmare stages are multi-tier, multi-acted, if you will. To get the gold prize, you only need to make sure that you get through each stage in one go apiece. You can restart each part of the level as many times as you want, but if you use a checkpoint, you're probably not getting the gold prize. Keep that in mind because you need the gold prizes to unlock all four of the Babel sections. So for completionism, that's necessary, actually. You need to get it in normal or hard, doesn't matter which. There is a separate prize for getting all the gold prizes in hard mode, but don't do that unless you're a sadist. Or a
Now, it's because this is
masochist, even.
Vincent's nightmares that he's the only one that appears human-like. That's why everyone else
No,
looks like sheep.
yeah. The thing about the dream is everyone sees everyone else as sheep, so nobody can identify each other, except certain people who are important to the game have little identifiers like hair or a fedora or stuff like that. So the player can identify them, but you can't. It's kind of like Yu Narukami with not being able to recognize Yukiko as the only person in town wearing a kimono on TV.
Well, that's what you wanted to say, but you didn't have enough common sense.
More or less. And they'll start recognizing each other's voices, but the big thing is that when they wake up from the dream, they don't remember exactly what happened in the dream, only a vague sense of running away from from something. And Vincent doesn't start to remember the dreams until really late game.
Now, this is an Atlas game, so obviously it's going to bust your balls, but how Atlas hard would you say it is?
Normal mode doesn't really get hard until later on. There's an easy mode, and there's a code to make easy mode spawn random energy drinks that let you jump up multiple blocks without actually having to move anything. So, you can set it to your comfort level, but when you set it to hard mode, be prepared for hell.
You start off falling.
No, it's like the tutorial stage in hard isn't that much of a problem, but even that one is significantly more difficult. And when you get to stage 2 and onward, things get balls bustingly hard in places where you just don't know what the hell you're supposed to do, and it kind of assumes you know all the tricks for moving blocks around from normal mode. So it's probably a bad idea to play that first.
Well, there was a quote from some Atlas dude for I think it was like Dark Souls where they just basically admit we get off on your tears.
Atlas likes making their games hard. The Persona games are actually pretty easy unless you pick hard mode. Katherine is, it's middle difficulty as far as Atlas games go.
I would recommend, though, not picking up this game unless you have a niche for this sort of thing to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a puzzle gamer, by all means.
Try the demo first. At least.
Yes, most importantly, try the demo first. You're right.
The demo includes a bit of the story scenes, the tutorial stage, and the first boss stage that comes at the end of this one. So it'll give you a good feel for whether or not this is your thing. Now, you might think tutorial guy that's talking to us right now isn't important to the plot at all, but he is.
Well, that's general Atlas fare.
Yeah, isn't that the case for a lot of things? Though Spider-Man 2 kind of disappointed me when I found out that Bruce Campbell had nothing to do with the story.
Well, anyway, first tier complete, and at the end of every tier, you'll get your score countdown, and it will show you a little prize graphic above your score. Next to your safety bonus, I think. That'll let you know whether or not you're on track for the gold prize. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So you can keep track pretty easily whether or not you're doing everything right. But as a general rule of thumb, if you make it up every level without breaking your combo bonus, and as you can see, I'm abusing the undo mechanic to reset that every now and then, because you can do that. If you make it up without breaking that combo, and pick up some coins along the way, you're good for the gold in most cases. Now, you can tell the tutorial guy is important because he actually has a tie on.
All of the people in the bar become sheep at some point too, right?
Yeah, and everyone who shows up in the dream that has something other than sheepiness to their graphics is a character that you talk to in the real world at some point. All the other sheep, you can say things to them and sometimes get like meter changes from your dialogue options, but they're not really important to any kind of completionism, so you can safely ignore them. Do talk if you're going for trophy completion on your first run, do talk to every sheep that has something other than a sheep to them.
The one with the necktie, the one with...
Well, actually, there's no reason to talk to the one with the necktie, but you're only given the
so
option.
picky.
No, he dies. He dies as a plot. He dies as a mandatory plot thing. You can't save him. Don't even try. But you don't get the option to talk to him until really late game, when it becomes pretty obvious who he is in the real world.
Barkeep?
No. My thing is that alright, so obviously from Vince's perspective, he appears human, he's got boxers on, it's not with the pillow. Why the horns though? Why does he have
the horns indicate that he is a sheep just like everyone else. They're the same horns all the sheep have. All of the other sheep see him as a sheep with an afro.
So why do we see him as a human with horns?
Main character.
No, because everyone in the dream sees themselves as a human. When you talk to these people, they'll say everyone's a sheep but me, or they'll act amazed when they hear that all the other sheep are actually humans, and that's a thing during the first couple rest areas. So it's part of the supernatural aspect of the dream. Everyone is supposed to see everyone else as a sheep, but they see themselves as human.
It's symbolic because we all think we're unique, but we're not because we're all sheep. Because Atlas is so clever and subtle.
Yeah, it's not. It's Atlas symbolism. Yeah, it hits you in the head with it, but I still think it's okay.
At the very least, I do prefer symbolism, even if it's ham-handed as fuck, which is par for the course with Atlas stuff. I at least prefer symbolism that I can figure out, as opposed to the curtains were green, which symbolizes his love of nature, which is why he doesn't get along with his mom. And English class bullshit, I'll take this over that any day of the week.
Yeah, well, yeah. Atlas doesn't cater to English majors, they cater to everyday people, so they make their symbolism more in your face so that most people will get it. Now, I'm going to show these off, but only because during the course of these conversations, sometimes stuff happens that you actually have to do to make sure someone survives. But they do have little tutorials in the rest areas on specific little tricks that you can use to get blocks up or overcome certain situations. And they get more and more advanced as you go through the game. So the game does teach you the stuff you need to know, usually before you need to know it. But if you know those tricks early on, you can actually overcome stuff a lot easier and faster.
Are there speedruns of... Well, of course there are speedruns of this game.
Are there speedruns?
There are speedruns of Cool Spot. Are there any speedrunning tricks that can make certain areas like a cakewalk? Or stuff that you shouldn't know how to do that you can do anyway? That'll make this...
Well, you just said there was a randomness factor to it, isn't there?
The randomness factor is in the other modes.
Okay.
The story modes are all specifically designed stages. So are the stages in the arcade cabinet. But all the other extra modes are dropping random blocks at you and hoping you can survive them.
Is there an endless mode?
I think. Not sure. The battle stages are long enough that they might as well be endless modes, though.
Well, I'm the kind of guy who can clear 999 lines in Tetris, so I need to be able to play this shit for 8 hours.
I don't mean to brag, but...
Well, if you like the puzzle gameplay Katherine has to offer, there's plenty to do with it.
Kind of fucked up running animation is that?
Okay, now we have the confessional. You can do two things. You can talk at the window here to annoy the fuck out of Astaroth before you sit down, or you can sit down and have your morality questions thrown at you. These are actually, except for the first question here and the questions during the final stage, they're randomly chosen. And when you're online, your first answer to every individual question is uploaded to a survey server. that gauges how many of the players, like on average, picked that as their first answer. There are many more questions than we're going to see in this one playthrough, so it's one little new thing to do during your additional different morality runs of the game. I would actually, like, in a first playthrough, I'd recommend answering these honestly.
Boxers or briefs?
Now, I'm not going to be melodramatic, so I picked It Begins.
Yeah, do the choices get really mundane, like salad or soup?
Sometimes they are. Sometimes they're really out there questions. Sometimes they're obscene as fuck. Sometimes they're just really boring questions that you wouldn't think have a morality connotation, but somehow they do.
Paper or plastic?
What is your quest?
It's like, would you do a robot? Stuff like that, or...
Is it a Lucy Lubot?
And then the chaos answer for that one is actually kind of hilarious. Is it fully functional? But yeah, the questions are amusing. I like, you know, they're really just the main way of altering your morality meter when you're not going out of your way to do all the extra stuff in the bar or talk to the other sheep. And there is way more in the game than you need to get to get to either end of the morality thing. So you don't really have to worry about getting the ending you want, except for the final stage questionnaire.
Well, like you said, it's better to answer these honestly the first time you play.
The first time, yeah. Think of it as like a personality test and see what you get the first time. I got True Lovers. Go me.
Well, I think that's also true for the Shin Megami Tensei stuff too. You know, if you answer all the questions, alignment questions, as honestly as you can, the ending means a little bit more.
Yeah. You know, I kind of like that. It's just like don't like look up a guide or intentionally try to think about what answer does what to your morality meter unless you're going for a specific ending achievement or something. Now, items.
Yeah.
Items are a thing that, well, you can use and there's no penalty for using them, but you don't need to use an item to solve a puzzle. Sometimes it'll look like you need to use an item, and I usually wind up having to use one at that point. But there's almost always a way to get through without using it, unless
Well, yeah, because otherwise you'd be hosed if you accidentally used it in the wrong place.
Yeah, it's like the only real problem spots are later in the game where they throw a bunch of enemies at you. And sometimes they move around randomly, so sometimes they can block you off, and you'll need the lightning strike item to wipe them off the screen.
As you climb up each new step,
Some of the later stages have random elements that can really dick you over, but for the most part, you don't need items or anything.
So you collect Enigma coins to unlock shit.
Coins are points. They're just points. That's all they are. They're little caches of extra points that get added onto your score, and the score is what determines what prize you get, which determines your unlocks, which is just battle. And you see, that's an example of the random enemies dicking you over. Fuck them. Fuck them all up the ass.
One more thing I forgot to mention. If you're crushed by a falling block, you're dead.
You don't say! Now, you might not think this is much of a thing, but there are times when you need to push blocks out from under each other. Like now, lower other blocks, and then use them as a means to get up.
Can you ever fuck yourself over and make it impossible to win?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, that's happened
And
to
in
me a few
hard
times.
mode, it's going to happen a lot because you don't have the undo button in hard mode. The undo button can go back like as many as like I think 10 moves, and it always goes back to the last time you moved a block. There is one glitch that I think is going to happen at some point during this playthrough that causes it to not go back at all every time you press it. But what was I gonna say? Its main function, what I use it for, is when the timer on your step combo runs down, you can move back a block. You can move back a step, and it will reset the combo timer, even if it was just about to run out before you move the block. So you can push a block, hit undo, and you'll have your combo timer back. It is hilariously abusable.
On normal mode.
On normal and easy mode, yes. On
I
hard
will say
mode,
that
you're
that
shit out
bell's
of luck.
there we go. That bell gets pretty fucking obnoxious.
Yeah, the bell only sounds when you're right next to the end, but there are times where the puzzle at the very end of the stage takes forever to solve simply because it's hard to figure out what to do. And the bell really gets on your nerves when that happens.
Well, I mean, not even that. It's like even when you get in these tutorial sentences here, the bell's still going off in the background,
Yeah,
and,
it is.
it distracts you.
You wanna know what
Yeah.
bugs me? The bell is not in time with the music. So,
Says the guy who was in marching band.
yeah. Well, yeah. Do you know how obnoxious it is to try to march when the percussion's off beat? It's practically impossible.
The bell can be atmospheric or annoying depending on who you are. I tend to lean toward atmospheric with a tinge of annoyance if it goes on too long. But yeah.
Well, it's obviously one of those things that you notice more when you're watching a game as opposed to playing it.
Yes, definitely. Here we are again. This is the last time we're going to see Tutorial Guy for a very long time, I think. The next stage is the boss stage.
So the barman's gonna come down then. Because his name's Boss. Anybody? No. Oh, okay. Never mind.
I wasn't
Now,
even paying attention.
this is the start of a running thing. Everyone in the dream figures out that the dream is the cause of the mysterious deaths we were seeing earlier, but nobody in the dream remembers that when they wake up. So it's just a rumor in the real world.
Speculation. It's just going to confuse us more. You should think of what to do.
You can't speak out in ellipses.
I'm hearing rumors of something big.
Dot dot dot.
What he actually did there was he made a little quiet grunt sound, but
Yeah.
there's no real word for that.
There's nothing more.
Oh,
So it's just
Japan's bigger on using ellipses over there because they don't have they can put as many dots on the end of something as they want and it'll just mean whatever.
Ellipses is one of the very few things between Japanese writing and English writing that's still the same.
While on landings, you can learn techniques.
Welcome to Blocks 101.
And
I'm
now
your
for
professor,
Greek
Mr.
calculus.
Sheep.
I wanna just take a moment to appreciate that the logos that pop up during these tutorial things are actually pretty funny sometimes.
You want to know what they remind me of? Even though I haven't played any of these games, they remind me of the Fallout dude. The little,
The mascot character, the blonde kid, whatever his name was.
the 50s looking dude.
Yeah.
They
It's always
remind
one
me
thing-
of that.
I always did like when the developers have fun when it comes to teaching the players how to do something. Because one of my favorite things about Bioshock Infinite was learning how to work new Vigors.
Now, this guy here is our shop salesman. You actually have to spend points to pick up an item, which lessens your chances of getting the gold prize. You might still manage it with one item, though. It depends on what stage, what score requirement, etc. I don't actually need to buy anything, because you can only hold one item at a time, and I already have the item he's selling. Also, if you need to buy an item, you're probably doing badly at the game.
Well, it's
You-
a safety net, you know.
It's at my skill level on normal mode, I rarely need more items than the levels themselves provide.
But that's you.
Yeah, but that's me. It's there if you need it.
Creates a block in front of you.
Nah, I don't need.
And if you say no, I like his line. What, you think you're window shopping or something, fro man? That's the only indication you're ever given that the other sheep can see your afro in your sheep form.
I would have assumed that they saw the pillow. Because, why the fuck are you carrying that thing
Yeah,
anyway?
why is he carrying the pillow?
I'm not sure. I know that pillow items are your extra lives, in game, but I think I think it's meant to indicate that Vincent
he's
is the,
holding on for his dear life.
Yeah, I think it's meant to indicate that Vincent is that guy who falls asleep and at some point while he's asleep hugs his pillow.
Aw.
He's the only one that ever understands me.
I'm a regular blockologist.
That was horrible, and you should feel horrible.
Try to remember this one too.
I do like the personalities of the extra characters, even though all they are is basically social link side stories, except without the persona fusion element.
Try pulling a block and
And they're not very involved, but they're nice little extra things. You probably don't want to bother with them on second playthroughs,
But then
But-
you'd let them all die.
but then you'd let them all die, and I feel horrible for that, so I save them almost every time. But for our first playthrough, they add flavor to the game, when you get into, like, the hairdos story here, some of the stuff is kind of disturbing, but when he starts to explain his backstory.
Okay, if you find any new moves, you come straight to me. This is coming from executive.
I wonder who he's supposed to be. It's not like his purpose in the real world was pointed out in giant pink letters.
Yeah. Well, we haven't met any of these guys in the bar yet. When they meet you, basically when these characters first meet you, they ask, "Hey, do I know you from somewhere?" So they have some inkling as to what your voice sounds like and stuff.
They gotta play dead. I'm not sure
But
the sheep here are really human. Really?
there's the line I was talking about earlier. I just pushed 2 sheep a little while ago. You're a murderer. Good job.
Yeah, but you can. I've seen some of later Raws. You can push sheep down off the ledge and kill them too. You fucking asshole.
I forget
Hey
whether
man,
I
survival
do
of the
this
fittest. Every sheep
I-
for himself.
I forget whether I do this for all of the stages, but the reason I'm going around talking to every sheep is because getting a neutral run in this game is extremely finicky, and you basically need to take advantage of every morality choice the game gives you to get your morality into neutral again.
Just gotta climb. Learn some techniques.
Well, at least
Especially
it's not
if-
like Shin Megami Tensei 4 where you can be too neutral to get the neutral ending.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Well, you see, I'm actually answering the questions for the most part in the confessional. I'm answering the confessional questions honestly for this playthrough, but so I'm heavily leaning on the other morality choices to keep me in neutral.
Bring them down like a tornado. Then
Blah blah
make a
blah blah
staircase
blah. Tutorial. Past me.
Tutorial
shut
fight, tutorial fight.
up.
Wait, so did Vincent just teach
Let's
him that?
try not to spend the entire Persona commentary. Yeah. Some of the tutorials pop up when you're talking to random sheep, actually. Like, they'll be panicking, and Vincent will teach them a trick that he knows to calm them down. And, you know, by the end of the game, if you talk to a lot of sheep, they'll start thanking you for being such a good, like, influence on everyone. Or, like, you're the reason they're still alive at this point in the game, or whatever. It's basically a big feel-good button. You're the Gary Stu guy who's keeping everyone alive. Good job. You still can't sort out your romantic life when you're awake, but you're a dream guy in your dreams.
What?
No.
I'm leaning toward law at this point in the game because there's a lot more opportunity after stage 2 to get into chaos, and I don't want to. I want to be neutral, but I also don't want Vincent having his dick inner monologues. So I need to stay neutral blue.
So why is it that? And I know this is probably going to get explained as we later go down the road, but why are men being dragged into this place when they go to sleep?
Oh well, it's a spoiler thing, but
Okay. If you
yeah.
don't want to go into it, then don't.
Well, if I could explain it now, but I'd basically be repeating the villain's the villain's villainous monologue from later in the game. So
Does this not impact you? No, that's because some douchebag gave it away 10 parts ago.
Well, we don't want to get in the way of his mustache twirling, so.
Oh.
mustache stroking. Actually, he doesn't do twirling, but he does stroke his mustache a lot. That is the only hint I'm giving you as to who is the villain.
Do you feel more
Is it
anxious
Satan?
when you're alone, or when
This is one of those questions that you wouldn't think has a moral thing. But if you pick being with others, that signifies a want for more excitement rather than calm, so it nudges you toward chaos.
Little lost lamb, this entire place is an immense sanctuary.
So basically, introverts are better people.
This is the
I'm available! Please be my girlfriend!
I don't have to die?
Don't get your hopes up. You'll never be able to reach the pinnacle. Anyway,
Now, I basically like the,
I hear this sounds
I like the design for the first boss because it's probably the only vaguely subtle boss design where you actually have to think about what it signifies in Vincent's brain. But it's a pair of hands with a fork. He's basically...
Wait, hold on. Rocket Confessional? That would make church way more
Fuck
badass.
yeah!
Rocket Confessional, yeah. The design for this boss is 2 hands with a fork, and Vincent thinks it's Katherine. But why is this one? But why does he think it's Katherine? It's because of the fork. When Katherine is really, really angry in the coffee shop, she stabs her cake like she's trying to murder it. And that's what this nightmare boss is. It's her hand with a fork stabbing the cake. I thought that was a lot more clever than the vagina in stage 2 that tries to eat you.
There's a name for that, wasn't it?
Stage 3. It's called the, what was it called? The name pops up when the boss does, so we'll find out in that part.
Woo! The Fist of Grudge.
Yes, the Fist of Grudge is our first boss. Really easy boss to get past because as long as you outrun it, you're fine. Other bosses like throw different kinds of attacks at you as they climb, and most of those aren't that hard to dodge because they turn blocks red before they hit them.
Is this really a boss fight? You're still doing the same thing you do in other levels.
It's a boss.
Well,
If it gets close enough, it will stab you and kill you and try to, you know. So apart from just the blocks falling out, you have those. And then it'll do this, which is annoying, but yeah, I used one of the items just to save a little time. Turns all blocks to normal blocks. The thing about, you know, like, just you have the blocks falling to worry about, but you'll never get close to those in most boss fights, because if you do get close to those, the boss kills you. Later bosses are a lot more annoying, though.
You know, that's not how you use a fork. You use a fork to eat things. Using it as a chainsaw seems rather redundant to me.
Later bosses have random attack patterns that can seriously dick you over or cause you to have to stand and wait for the attacks to pass. Don't even get me started on the final boss. Well, I'll have to talk about the final boss later, but don't get me started on it now because the number of deaths I suffered at the hands of that asshole. The real problem when it comes to boss attacks is when you're hanging over an edge and can't see the block below you turn red before the attack comes. Then you
So
just
he's
get
standing there
blindsided.
laughing, the boss just comes up and stabs him with the
Stabs you
fork.
with the damn fork.
Yeah, more or less. It's that point at which Cloud Strife twirls his sword around, and if things were being realistic, someone would shoot him in the head while he was doing that. And the boss always just magically appears next to you during the cutscene, no matter how far ahead you get of it. You get from
Yeah,
it.
because you're just standing around like a dumbass doing a little battle cries.
Yeah.
I'm safe, right?
The door always obliterates the bosses. Alright, that is the second stage completed. The next part is going to be entirely cutscene and bar scene, so let's see us bullshit our way through that.
Bullshit our way through that, we still have 5 minutes to bullshit through this.
Oh, right, that's right, the waking up cutscene and the morning cutscene. The cutscenes get Metal Gear Solid tier long at times, especially toward the end.
I figured there was a reason why some of these parts are pretty long.
Yeah, I tried to keep it to roughly one bar scene and one stage per part after this, but some of the stages get really long, so I had to break those up toward the
Yeah,
end.
you consider this a prologue to a Metal Gear Solid commentary.
It's a lot more anime and a lot less out there, though. Holy shit, how did you get here? And for the record, no, Vincent never actually remembers the point at which the points at which he slept with Katherine, because spoilers, he never actually did.
You know, if I woke up with a hot chick next to me in bed, I'd be a little bit less freaked out and a little bit more grateful, I guess.
Surprising.
Well, he already has a hot chick, so he's more freaked out by the fact that the other hot chick is probably going to try to murder him at some point.
Was his
Is
drink
there a
doped?
threesome ending?
No, there's no threesome ending. There's endings where you get Katherine, there's endings where you get to see Katherine, which is this one, because you can see everything here. You see what I did there? That's a pun on letters and the word see. Huh? Is this thing on? No.
Shut up, Lewis.
Just me? Okay. There are endings where you try to get back with each of them and they reject you. And then there are the two neutral endings. One where you have the neutral ending and win at a gamble, so you get to go to space. And one where you have the same neutral ending, except you lose the gamble and Vincent has no fucks to give, so there isn't actually an after the credits scene. I'm getting true neutral, so we're going to see Vincent go to space.
Space.
But basically, what determines whether or not you get the ending you want isn't whether you're right or wrong. It's how decisive you are. If you're decisively neutral, you can get the neutral ending, the true neutral. If you're decisively into law and marriage, you'll get the true Katherine ending. If you're a little iffy on what you want, you'll get a slightly worse ending or an outright bad one if you just suck at life. It's possible to get the good lovers and cheater endings from either end of the morality meter, I think, but you can only get the true ending if you're in the correct moral alignment.
Holy shit, worst cigarettes ever.
I think that's meant to either signify that, I don't know, Vincent has a raging boner right now, or to signify that the kiss went on for way too long.
Or maybe just a really fucking bad cigarette.
What isn't good?
Well,
You just want to, like, throw something inside his mouth.
after we just met. Jeez, what the hell am I saying?
Is this gonna be a problem?
They don't really ever try to lip sync with this game, do they? Or
Well, they probably lip sync better in Japanese, but the lip syncing is kind of bad, regardless.
Well, this game was made, in Japan. It was intended for Japanese markets first.
They didn't actually intend to release this stateside, but there was a sizable, demand for it.
Well, then there you go. It was developed for a Japanese market, and they brought it overseas, but they didn't bother retweaking the lips.
They didn't bring it overseas until people asked for it, and I'm surprised people asked for it, to be honest, because it's such a niche game. But there are a lot of Western Atlas fans who get a bit sore about the number of Atlas games that don't get localized and released. It's like the only things that get reliably released over here are Shin Megami Tensei games and
well, no, that's only in recent years. There's still a
and
whole bunch of
Persona
stuff.
most of all. But
There's still a whole bunch of stuff that hasn't been brought over officially. Although there's a lot of fan translations for a lot of the old stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean like mainline Shin Megami Tensei and the Persona games.
I'm sorry.
Basically because they made SMT their marketing label for their RPGs.
Work? Guess?
Sorry, I gotta go now.
Now, remember this dentist appointment line because that's actually plot important later on. You wouldn't think so, but it is.
Well, it just sounds like that I have a dentist appointment, like one of the shallowest I don't want to be here right now excuses that I can think of off the top of my head. I had like
Wow.
6 dentist appointments last week when I didn't want to talk to people.
Yeah. Well, she
But
actually is going to meet a dentist, but that's all I'm going to say now.
On the plus side, I have really good teeth, so that's nice.
For seducing people.